Good evening. Hope everyone's having a good night. It's nice and breezy here tonight here in Sarasota. There's still, of course, a lot of usual various confusion anyone who would be around would be hearing. I'm not going to bore anybody with the details. But I was just reviewing some of the videos I made back in March of 2015. And I was reminded of a concern that occurred again earlier today, actually, and pertaining to the solar incident I described occurring on January 5th of 1999, late in the afternoon. And something that I am reminded about is that there had secretly been some really serious resentment that there hadn't been a disaster back then. And I think there's evidence of that attitude in a movie from 2009, the movie named Noah. And I remember seeing the movie. I forget what exactly when, but it's detailed in the journal. And the detail was that I think it's in the end of the movie when it's described as a solar flare starts in a very small, somehow it's depicted as starting in a very small location somewhere near Boston that quickly expands until it destroys the world. It's really terrible kind of terrible kind of an ending, and considering what I had experienced, that was actually a quiet indication of some kind of saving somehow. That I had reported as soon as I had seen the movie that there were details that looked like there were some persons that rejected saving kind of events to the extent that they would try to artificially cause disaster, and that they even wanted to depict it in a movie. And I don't have I don't have any file available to describe, to mention whatever detail I had written. The video format is good for some matters, but for other matters it isn't really good. Some matters there has to be enough writing. But it was really bad. Near the end of the movie, it shows a small area somewhere near Boston, and an ever-widening fire that gets worse and worse. And in the Wikipedia description of the movie, that it's described that it spreads until it ends the world. But in the event that I had described from January 5th of 1999, what it had looked like was that there was a bright, from the entire circumference of the sun, widened to a distance around the sun, and then apparently got smaller and smaller as it's careening towards the Earth. And I can't explain that. I'm sure there must have been some kind of telescopic views. There's probably a record of it. But gosh, you wouldn't believe what kind of resentment that I hear blaring and arguing at me from traffic and everything. And one of them this time is a former stepsister, whom unfortunately years ago alleged that I'm an only witness of her participating in a crime of baking a baby in a bassinet in the house of a former stepfather named William B. Love in Longboat Key. Well, I reported as well as I could, but back then, near the end of 1990, the particular time that had been cited, I wouldn't have even guessed that they had done anything. But anyway, pertaining to the particular lady, she indicates being a part-time nun also, that those details are in files that were given to police. So I don't know what the disposition is, but besides covering up about space kind of matters that were important to the people, that they also managed to cover up about crimes of their own in order to use their secret influence to suppress all this testimony. But all this testimony is always for everyone being saved instead.